call the meeting to order and have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have the roll call, please?
President English.
Present.
Director Doring-Ahern.
Present.
Director Hardy.
Present.
Director Johnson.
Here.
Director Mechanic.
Here.
Director Schisler.
Here.
Director Williams. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The rules for our hybrid meeting participation are provided in the packet if you need to review them. The next agenda item is public input. Is there anyone pre-registered who wishes to speak or comment?
No.
Hearing none, let us move to the next item, the approval of minutes. These are minutes from the June 15th, 2022 regular Board of Directors hybrid meetings. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
President English.
Yes.
Director Doring-Ahern.
Yes.
Director Hardy.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
Yes.
Director Mechanic.
Yes.
Director Schisler.
Yes.
Director Williams.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are presentations. The first is from Mr. Sean Drinkard, an executive with the Tampa Downtown Partnership, and it's regarding the Winter Village Express. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, we have been, in a sense, sponsoring this event for a number of years. And so with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Drinkard to tell us what's going on this year. Sean?
Can you guys hear me? Sean's gonna look and sound a little bit different today.
Rachel Radowitz.
Hi guys, sorry, last minute swap out here. So my name is Rachel Radwick. I work with Sean Drinkard over at the Tampa Downtown Partnership. And we are the individuals who help facilitate Winter Village. For those of you who are not familiar with the program as a whole, we are rolling into our 6th year of Winter Village, and this would be our 5th year with the Express, but it's actually the 4th due to having skip a year because of COVID. But it is probably our second most successful element of Winter Village behind the ice skating rink. So that really says a lot about the program. The Winter Village Express is a really family-oriented activity that happens from our opening Sunday until the Sunday before Christmas. And what it is it's an hour-long round-trip ride where families board at the Whiting Station in downtown and ride on a round trip to Ybor and back. It's filled with trivia, sing-alongs, stories, family activities, milk and cookies on board, and it's kind of our play on the Polar Express. So this board has been fantastic in supporting the program since its initiation, which we are extremely grateful for. So we are here to ask for that continued support. And we are also very appreciative of you guys sliding us into the special meeting as well, too. We're here with our same request that we have year over year, and that's for a partial sponsorship of the Streetcar Hours as well as the Raft. For those of you who have been with us for a couple of years, you might remember last year we had a little bit of an issue with double-booked streetcars. So we were able to partner with the Lightning to kind of do a joint Lightning streetcar in Winter Village Express. But I've actually already spoken with Lori, and we have a streetcar secured for a fully branded streetcar this year. We've already got a contract with her. I just told her that once, and if following board approval here, that I will get everything over to her. So if anybody has any questions about the program, it is a ticketed ride. It's a $10 ticket. It is, a very affordable holiday activity. We do all online ticketing. We started that 2 years ago. It's been extremely successful. And last year, again, a sold out season.
Any questions? Rachel, remind us what our contribution is or has been historically?
So as you can see, Danielle's got it queued up there. It's $18.75, so that's towards the charter of the streetcar, because it is a privately chartered streetcar, and then $1,600 that goes towards the wrapping of the vehicle. And just so you guys know, we do the half wrap, so from like the windows down, the front and the back panel, and then Vector donates the interior cards to us. And then new last year, we've also gone ahead and added the step panels to it, because that was an extra branding piece that we were able to sneak in last year because of the lightning takeover, and we really liked them, so we're going to keep those and pay for those again this year.
Okay, great. Any questions from board members?
I'd
Yes,
just like to
Ms.
say, I
Doring-Ahern.
love that we work on the cross-promotion for downtown and Ybor, and it covers both areas and gets folks to and from. I found that it really kicked off a lot of ridership that we weren't currently capturing before we started the event. And I love that even though the streetcar is typically free, people are willing to pay the $10 for the experience several times. And
We
it's
really like that.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a lot of people's first, it's a lot of kids' first, I guess not even just kids, adults too. It's a lot of people's first visit to the streetcar, which we always appreciate, and we always do include that the service is free and promote the streetcar as well. We've been doing the program, we started while it was still $5 round trip fare on the streetcar, so it's been really exciting for us to kind of see all the other streetcars that come in between ours and how packed they are.
Yep, and as I put my mom hat on, it's really fun now. It seems like it's caught on with a lot of the families that they put their kids in their pajamas to come and do the streetcar, even though it's 2 PM and probably fairly hot. But it's become a tradition that families are starting to carry, and I like that gets the children involved and keeps them riding transit. Thanks. That's it.
Great. Any other questions? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move the approval of the sponsorship.
We have a
Second.
motion for approval from Mr. Mechanic and a second.
William.
From Gil? Okay. If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel. We'll look forward to
Thank you
seeing it.
guys so much.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing it this
Yeah.
year again. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the fiscal year 2023 HART THS proposed budget. It is an action item today, and Ms. Loretta Kirk is here to give us a brief presentation. Ms. Kirk?
Good morning to President English, members of the THS board, and to Ms. LeGrand. This is the presentation on our final proposed budget for fiscal year 23 for HART and the Tampa Historical Streetcar. The preliminary budget was presented to you on June 15th. A few changes have been made to the financial numbers. No changes have been made to the statistical numbers, but I'll go through each slide nevertheless. So provided you are okay with this proposed budget, then you'll be asked to consider approval today. So I'll go over the same items that we went through in June. The service model, the operating statistics, the revenues and expenses for HART, the THS budget, the combined budget, capital expenditures, and next steps. In terms of the service, no changes since we discussed it in June. The proposed operating hours, 27,888. In terms of the revenue hours, again, no change. Revenue miles, the ridership is the same. What has changed on this slide is the cost per service hour because the financial numbers have changed. So when we talked in June, the service hours was $138.12, and we're actually projecting cost per service hour $140.47. Okay, so this is the HART portion, our operating revenues for the streetcar. If you look in the column for fiscal year 23, you can see that we're projecting to receive state operating grants, $800,000, federal operating grants, FTA 5307, $200,000, advertising revenue, $86,310, fair revenue for special events, $3,000, City of Tampa contribution, $760, and that's for the tax increment refinance and the TIF. The City of Tampa contribution from the general fund, which is $591,000 projected, and the Tampa Historical Streetcar, $742,748. For total revenues, and we know that the revenues and expenses have to balance. Total revenues, $3,183,058. In terms of expenses, again, the total $3,183,058, and you can see the detail. The only item that has changed on this slide from the previous slide is the utilities went up slightly. But salaries and wages, $2,074,134, fringe benefits, $581,245, fuel and oil, $5,837, parts and supplies, $160, $918, contract services, $21,760, marketing and printing, $53,000, insurance, $80,000. As I mentioned, utilities went up like $158,064, and other expenses, $48,100, for total expenses, which match the revenue, $3,183,058. In terms of the THS operating budget, revenues and expenses balance at $1,477,226. In terms of the detail, revenue for special districts, $1,444,775. Streetcar advertising, $32,451. Again, total revenue, $1,477,226. And I would note that these numbers were developed in consultation with the City of Tampa, which they have agreed to these numbers. Operating expenses, CXS insurance, $667,365. Attorney fees, $6,000. Accounting fees, $25,000. General liability insurance, $10,000. Other expenses, $1,000. The budget reserve, $25,113. And the contribution to HART, which is the number that we need to balance the budget for HART, $742,748. The total expense was $1,477,226. The next slide is simply a compilation or combination of the THS and the HART budget. When you look at those two budgets that I just presented and add them together, total revenue $3,917,536, and total expenses $3,917,536, and the detail I covered on the last three slides. But I'll certainly be happy to answer any questions about the combined schedule. The next slide has the position. This is unchanged from June, but certainly there is a change from last year. We had 33 positions last year, and we did budget for 2 additional motormen or operators, and that's because of the increased service that we project for fiscal year 23. So for fiscal year 23, we are budgeted at 35 positions, and you can see the detail. 1 director, 1 manager, 18 operators or motormen, 2 road supervisors, maintenance supervisors, 2 vehicle technicians, 8, and facility technicians, 3. Again, for a total of 35 positions. This slide details the capital expenditures or the capital budget that's in the HART budget, but this is the capital that we're budgeting for the streetcar. Vehicle maintenance, $1 million. Infrastructure maintenance, $185,000 for total capital investment in the streetcar fiscal year 23, $1,285,000. In terms of next steps, very few. We're asking you to consider this budget today, and provided you approve this budget, then in September, on the HART side, we have 2 public hearings to adopt our preliminary budget and then to adopt our final budget, which includes the capital budget. So President English, that completes the presentation on fiscal year 23 proposed HART and THS budget. I'll be glad to answer any questions you or the board members may have.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Nicely done. Are there questions about this budget?
Yeah, Dave Mechanic. It's certainly good that the capital expenditure has gone down, but what is the reason for that reduction?
Mr. Allen,
I'm sorry, and is the HART staff there for the streetcar?
Yes, the capital expenditure.
Yeah, and I'll allow them to answer, but, capital is whatever we need for this particular year. So, it's not like operating where it, flows and maybe steady increases just based on the needs for that year. But I'll let the HART staff give you more details.
Mr. Allen.
Good morning, President English, Ms. Grand, members of the board. The reduction is because we're coming off a large contract where we rebuilt 4 of the streetcars. That's the bulk of that $3 million that you see there. In this year, we're projecting to do just 1 car and some component rebuild work. And that's what a little over $1 million would be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Are there any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the proposed budget.
We have a motion for Mr. Hardy. And second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. That's great. So you got one of them done, Ms. Hart. So the next item on our agenda is a resolution to approve our proposed 2023 Tampa Historic Streetcar annual corporate budget in the amount of $1,477,226.
Move to approve Resolution R2022-08-03, approving the fiscal 2023 Tampa Historic Streetcar, Inc. Annual corporate budget in the amount of $1,477,226.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Hardy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Opposed say nay. Thank you very much.
Mr. English, before we go into the next one, can I make a comment?
Sure.
So my comment would just be to say that I'm very encouraged by the city. I am very encouraged by the city's renewed interest in participating and expanding the streetcar. The funds that they found to dedicate to the streetcar, very encouraged, and I think it's largely in part of the marketing that we've been doing to make sure that everyone's aware of the increased ridership. Again, just super impressed, and when we went to several of the CRA, CAC meetings to get the additional funds, they're all very supportive. Ebor, for example, said, sounds like we're going to be doing this added amount for a few years, and they were good with it. The Channel District felt heard because they asked for increased headways, and not only did we get them down from 20 to 15, but now at certain times we're getting them down to 12. So I think that the folks that are contributing to the funding sources are very happy with both our operations and the marketing that we're using to get that word out. So I just wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you for saying so. You know, it was a lot of work. Everybody worked really hard to make this happen, the Hart staff and putting the budget together. The city staff was wonderful, and the CRAs, everybody's been very helpful, and it is encouraging. It's also really cool because Ms. LeGrand and Hart are ramping up our service in a very important way. We'll carry nearly 1 million people this year, 1.2 million next year at least, all of which is just positive, great news for the streetcar system. So thank you very much. Okay, the next item in our agenda is Resolution R 2022-0804, approval of a 3-month extension to the operator's agreement for the Tico Line streetcar system. And who is...
President English, if I may, you missed Resolution 2022-08-03.
Oh, for the streetcar, Tampa Historic streetcar budget?
We did that.
Oh, we did do that one?
Yeah, we did.
Sorry.
Did you say I missed it?
No.
I didn't miss it.
No, we just
No
had
problem.
so
Sorry
many
about that.
folks that were making the motion, it got a little...
All right, so now we are in the approval of the 3-month extension for the Tico Line streetcar system. Somebody care to explain that, please?
I'm happy to. Dave Smolker, General Counsel. The current operating agreement with Hart automatically renews if we don't renegotiate. And I think that Hart is suggesting that we go ahead and formally approve a 3-month extension. A little bit of background is that we are currently reviewing and in discussions with the Hart staff about changes to the operating agreement. I'm very optimistic. There's really very few changes, which I think is a testament to the original agreement and how effective it is. I think most of the changes that we're looking at so far are really changes that are simply based on experience over the last 10 to 15 years. So there's some tweaking of that, but I don't anticipate there being any real substantive changes. We intend to sit down with the Hart staff. We do have some questions about certain of the proposed changes, but I'm pretty optimistic that in September 21st board meeting, we'll be able to bring back to the board a revised operating agreement, which the board can consider and approve, hopefully.
Yeah, we're really doing this as a timing issue matter. It makes sense just to extend it for a couple months. Without going into a lot of detail, it just was a confusing month. So we'll have it all straightened out by next month. And as David said, he and I went through both documents. We haven't really evaluated this agreement in at least 5 years. It might be longer. I don't know how long we've been rolling it over. So basically, I think what Hart staff did was just update it and clean it up. And so we're going to go through it with Hart staff, Hart Legal Counsel, and we should be ready in September to bring it to you. I'm going to ask that we do that early enough so that we can send it to everybody. I think both are documents that everyone should and deserve to sort of read because you haven't seen this agreement in a long time, and there's a lot of stuff in it. Does that make sense?
May I? So yes, this makes sense. Just one point of clarity. I think we probably won't be prepared in September to come back, most likely in October, because as you stated, most of us have not spent time reading through the operator agreement or the master agreement. So it's important that we look at both of those to make sure that any changes we make to the operating agreement are not in conflict with the master agreement. So we'd like to take this additional time to read through the documents, make sure that we brief all the board members before a board meeting on, what we see, and then come to the board meeting.
Okay, good. That's fine. Then we'll proceed with our small group review and pitch it to you. Great. So, may I entertain a motion, please, for that extension?
I motion to approve.
I'll move And
Do we have a
Second.
motion for Mr. Mechanic and a second for Ms. Doring Ahern? Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Thank you. The next item is Streetcar Operations Report. Mr. Allen.
Good morning, Brian Allen, Director of Streetcar Operations. For June, ridership was 91,512. This was a record for the month of June. We've had record months since March for ridership. So that was a pretty incredible number compared to last year, which was 74,908. Of that number, 103 were ADA boardings with no issues. We had 49 3/4 missed trips. The missed trips were caused by mechanical issues, shortage of operators, a flooded track, and an accident on June 26th where an automobile was exiting the Camel's parking lot at Roaring and Franklin and ran in front of the streetcar and was struck. We had a second accident in June. That was on the 30th, a very similar accident, this time in Ybor, where a vehicle was exiting the James Joyce parking lot and got struck by a streetcar. Both of those people were cited for the incident. I also want to mention that in June we provided 8 hours of extra service. The extra service was for the playoff games. And in July of this year, ridership was 92,955. 160 of those were 88 boardings, and 6,019 of them was Boom by the Bay ridership. So that was a good number. It was a Monday this year, so comparable. The other extra service was for a event at the Amalie, which was just a couple hours. For missed trips, we had 92 reported missed trips. This was caused primarily by a shortage of operators, which accounted for 40 trips. Weather, 28.5 trips. Mechanical issues, 12 trips. And car stuck on the track, 2 trips. Incident on July 13th. Another case where a vehicle's exiting a parking lot and gets struck by the streetcar. On July 13th, we had a storm-related incident where the wind blew the trolley pole off the wire and it snagged one of the guy wires at Dick Greco, halting service for a little bit while we cleared that. And then on July 20th, we had an incident up here at Ybor at 8th and 17th where a pickup truck turned directly in front of our streetcar and was struck. In that case, the driver of the pickup left the scene before the police showed up. So, as far as our infrastructure goes, we currently have 2 motormen in training. We're looking to fill 3 open positions in the motorman field and 1 for a facility maintenance tech. Would anybody have any questions for me?
You've been busy as usual.
It's been a crazy couple of months.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Mr. Smoker, legal and legislative report.
Thank you.
I have nothing on the legal or legislative front, other than just...
Please speak to the microphone.
Yes, sir.
It needs to be on.
Dave Smolker. Couple of things. One is just a heads up to the board. TICO has now changed their logo, and they have approached us about how to address the issue. We have a license agreement in perpetuity allowing us to use the existing logo, but I think TICO is interested in ultimately having their new logo appearing wherever they have sponsored cars and wraps. So we have contacted TICO's council. We've all agreed it would be a good idea to get together and decide how does this look ultimately. It may be a simple fix. We don't know. I think that the main concern of both THS and HART at this point is that if there is going to be any changeover of logos, it needs to be revenue neutral for HART and for THS. And I think given that we have a perpetual easement, a perpetual license in the existing logo, I think it's fair for us to expect TICO to pay if in fact they want us to change over the logos. So TICO's council has said, let's get together, let's talk about it, and see where we end up. So just a heads up so the board knows that that's an issue that's out there. The only other item that I have is...
Wait, before you go.
Yeah.
Before you go, I've discussed this with Mr. Smoker. I haven't really discussed it with anyone else. But I was there when we did this deal with TICO years ago, when DeGreco did it, and so was Mr. Mechanic, as a matter of fact. I don't want to pick a fight with TICO, so I'm interested in what they really want. But I do not want to spend a nickel doing it. I don't think it's our responsibility, and I don't know what Ms. Grand's position is, nor, well, I kind of know what Brian's is. He was just annoyed about it. But I think we just need to hear what they want and see how difficult it would be. And I think our marketing staff is quite capable of figuring out what it would cost to work through every place our logo exists. So I'm sure by next month we'll be able to present to you all what's going on and what we think we might be able to do about it. And Mr. Smilko will coordinate with Ms. LeGrand's office and Mr. Allen.
I would supplement that by saying in my conversation with TICO's counsel, this was not binding, but they hinted that they would be willing to cover the costs. So we will find out more details when we meet with them.
Okay, thanks. Next.
The next item is a review of our current insurance for general liability. Mr. Grant Mielek is here. He can give us a presentation. As you will recall, Mr. Johnson had suggested that we undertake a review of our policy to see whether or not we are in fact getting the best deal. And Mr. Mielek, I think, has presented at the prior meeting to give you guys a little bit of an overview of his opinions about the current policy and what are some of the other options that are out there. And he has since done further investigation, which he will now present to you.
Welcome, Mr. Mielek.
Good morning, President English. How you doing? How's the board doing today?
It's good, thank you.
So if we recall, on May 22nd, I stood in front of you and I said, I do believe with the current program, PRIA, just raising rates, I do believe we should go look in the marketplace to see if we can find something feasible. In front of you is basically essentially a marketing list and what the goals and accomplishments were for this year to see if we can move from PRIA. Basically, the main three things are coverage. I don't care for how the coverage is watered down with PRIA. 2, the pricing. I think the pricing, going up roughly 17 and 19% over the past 2 years is pretty astronomical. Like this, if this was property, and as we all know, property insurance in Florida is like, oh, please, God, run away now. I'd understand the increases, but this isn't. This is professional lines and public entity insurance. So these large rate increases, I've talked to Dave about them. I said there's either 2 things going on. People are leaving PRIA, or 2, there's been catastrophic claims. Because PRIA does insure about 80% of the public entities. So that said, this is what we have found and discovered and who we've interacted with in the insurance marketplace. Philadelphia Insurance Company, they just will not write public entities on a P&L basis. They will write it on a general liability basis, and the number they threw out was incredibly cheap. It was about $4,000 in savings. My issue with that is when you start breaking apart policies like your general liability package and your professional liability package, when you start breaking that apart and separating them by carriers, it potentially gives carriers a way out, point their fingers in the event of a claim. So for that reason, I just don't believe Philadelphia, even though great price decrease, I just don't think it would be a proper fit. Travelers Insurance Company, currently in discussions. So this is going to be interesting. They're all over the professional liability and the D&O, and they're doing it a heck of a lot cheaper in PREA. What they're trying to get their arms wrapped around is, and I'm glad I kind of heard this discussion, is the current contract in place with HART, THS, and the City of Tampa. Because in the scheme of things, carriers try to create programs that they think everyone can fit in a nice little box. As we know, THS is much different just from how it started and how things are run. And so it's kind of like you have to find the right people to get it fit in to their specific programs. So Travelers still working on, but we have had pretty good discussions. CNA is going to be proposing. They've already said they cannot budge off that $25,000 deductible, but they will be proposing. I don't know the exact numbers, but they should have them anytime this week. Zurich will not rate public entities whatsoever. Chubb. Right now, they've been the most aggressive with this, and they've been asking the right questions. What I mean by the right questions is just from an underwriting standpoint, when you're asking very specific questions, that's telling me as an agent, okay, this guy's serious, he wants to write this. We've already negotiated a lower deductible. It's about $15,000. Still higher than what you're paying now, with the exception of cyber liability. And now we're just working on the pricing. He thinks he can beat the pricing that you currently have by around $3,000 and boost some of the coverage limits and remove some of the exclusions I previously discussed. So right now, I'm really all about Chubb, which is also ironic because usually I'm not. But this guy, this underwriter really seems to want to write this business. American International Group, they'll write, but their minimum premium is $50,000. You're going to see that a lot in here. Westfield Insurance Company, they just will not write public entities. AXA will not write public entities. Great American, currently in discussions, but I think since Berkshire Hathaway bought them out, they're going to put their minimum premiums at $50,000. So it's kind of pointless. So the whole point is, I think Chubb is going to be the one who's really going to compete with PREA, and since senior management is looking at the quote, they understand THS, they understand how everything operates, which is amazing. After 5 meetings, somebody finally got it. But I'm pretty optimistic what Chubb's going to come in with. And again, I should have that any day now. So as you can see, we have approached the majority of the admitted AM Best carriers regarding coverage. At this time, Travelers and CNA will be providing quotes and options. In our professional opinion, Chubb is most likely going to be the one who's going to offer the best terms and coverage. Again, the only downside to this is you are going to have a higher deductible, and the rule of thumb is, in Insurance 101, is you never raise your deductibles. Never. You never do it. I've been speaking about this with Dave and stuff. I think I spoke about it with you, President English. It's that if you look over the whole course of THS, since inception, there's been no claims. So there's no frequency. So this is probably the only one time that I would say, okay, raising the deductible may make sense, because this entity and this board has proven for 20 plus years that they know what they're doing, you guys know what you're doing, and you have no claims. Therefore, no frequency. And that's why I think a higher deductible could make sense.
Okay, so when does our current policy expire?
10-1.
10/1? Okay.
This is for the board, D&O.
Okay. So, and I guess this is, I'll address this to Ms. LeGrand as well. I'm assuming that if you get completed proposals, you and Mr. Smoker can send those to Ms. LeGrand and to our board, and we can make a decision at our September meeting.
Sure.
Okay? Any other questions, comments? We really appreciate your help and the time you put into it. It's not a big deal policy for you, and so I want to thank you. It's a lot of analysis, and I'm confident we'll end up with a good policy.
I tried to keep it short for you, because I know I can go off and do insurance.
You did pretty well, yeah. You kept it about as short as you could keep it. So thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Sure. And then one last thing, just that I was overhearing with Ms. LeGrand and talking about the reviewing the contract with Hart and all the parties. I would like to be involved. I request to be involved in that.
In what contract?
The operating agreements. Because if you recall, a few years ago, I said some of the insurance terminology is outdated.
In the operator's agreement? Sure. I mean, Mr. Smoker can make it available to you.
I'll be happy to provide you with a copy of the latest draft, and you can take a look at it.
And you can share your,
It's just the insurance section.
yeah. And why don't you share your comments with Mr. Smoker, preferably before we get back together.
We have, and I think we're all going to discuss it more appropriately.
Yeah, we are. And you're welcome to attend that meeting if you like. Okay, any other questions of Mr. Milik? If not, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Board. Thank you, President English. It's a pleasure to serve you.
Thank you. Mr. President, I have nothing further.
You're done?
Done.
Good, thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Okay, the chair's report. I'll be appearing at City Council later this week to ask them to continue our special assessment district approval. We have to do that annually, but we've been doing it for 20 years, and I feel pretty confident that they'll be very supportive. So I think we've covered everything that Mr. Smoker and I have been talking a lot, but I think the TICO thing I was concerned about, and so I don't think I have anything else to report. So, Ms. LeGrand?
Okay, good morning again. Just quickly, you may have overheard, we are working to find ways to make the streetcar even more efficient within our existing budget. So I want to thank the city. We have had some conversations. We had some follow-up offline today, but they're going to work with us with signal priorities and preemption just to see how we can, get through some of these signals that have longer dwell times so we can keep our frequency up. And really what we want to be able to assess is as we fix these, I shouldn't say fix, as we adjust the timing, how more efficient we can be with the system that we currently have, and if there are more opportunities to add more value to the community.
That's great.
So we're working on that, and hopefully when we come back, we'll be able to share with you. But thus far, we have gotten some improvements at Adamo, which has also helped us to get through that intersection and not get stuck in the midway point. So thank you to the city for doing that as well.
That's great. Have you decided to do anything for our 20th anniversary?
There have been several conversations, so I will have to get with you offline because staff has talked with...
That'd be great.
Yeah, so we have started having some conversations. It's coming up pretty quickly.
It's coming up?
Yeah.
It's coming up. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Vector Media Sales Activity Update. Ms. Williams?
Good morning, President English, Ms. LeGrand, and Streetcar Board of Directors. It's great to see you all. Haven't seen them in a minute. I'm here to report today on our 20th anniversary of the Streetcar and the Vector update. Our report, since you just asked on the streetcar anniversary, we are still in, like Ms. LeGrand mentioned, we are still in the planning stages of the streetcar, but we've just come up with just some minor ideas where we plan to launch on October 3rd the marketing collateral, such as the streetcar 20th anniversary logo, the website, social channels. We're also going to be doing media events, streetcar fest, scavenger hunt, live music. We're ordering some 20th anniversary swag. Also, we're looking at maybe, we don't have a firm date for Streetcar Fest, but we're looking at October the 22nd to line up with the original grand opening. And I'm honored to say I was in the original grand opening back in 2002, so it's a pleasure to continue to support. What's really exciting during the 20th anniversary, we're going to recognize the 1 millionth rider. And this is going to be a surprise to the million riders. We're going to present a prize packet from businesses along the streetcar line. So moving on to our Vector media update. Miller's Course rewrap completed week of August 8th. Anheuser-Busch Pepsi introduction to be completed on August 20th, which just passed, so it should be completed. We have Zoo Tampa, January 23rd, 2023. Billion wrap should be completed October 2022. We have Cigar City, also November 2022. Tampa General Hospital creative completed last month, July 25th, and we have the Lightning Streetcar stations, Emily, and Central starting on September the 12th. Pending Vector updates will be Coca-Cola Station, Red Bull, Greco Station, Hard Rock, Winter Express contract, which we just spoke about this morning, and it's been approved. That completes the update. Other than some great news, Streetcar Live is going to return for the season on September the 23rd. That's going to be the 4th Friday in the month. This will coincide with the Downtown Partnership's 4th Friday weekend. And that's all I have for the update. Any questions?
That's a great report. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions? If not, thank you very much. We move now to compliance reports. We have marketing report and financial statements if anybody has any questions. Hearing and seeing none, I would like to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time today.